you were saying off mic how much you were looking forward to this. I just want to start us off with a little bit of atmosphere, a little bit of mood setting, just to get the listener up to speed with where my world is currently right now. I feel like this week, I reached a personal nadir of anxiety-ridden existential dread. I reached a new level here this week where I was dumped by my therapist.
Oh,
that was a new one on me. I feel like there's some sort of like achievement. Like if my life were a video game, that would be like it would be like bing, personal hell. Yeah, I had a breakdown. I had a freak out. Not a breakout, but I had those first two. And I immediately text messaged my therapist in a panic. A couple of messages that I absolutely should not have texted him, saying things that were wrong and bad. And then, of course, he didn't respond because naturally my therapist is a person with his own life, and he had his life and friends and wife and other clients to deal with. So, of course, he didn't answer my text immediately. So I instead called a good friend who's been a past guest, whose name I won't say on the show because this is personal. But, I called a friend and he talked me through it. And I'm like, oh yeah. I did some introspection. And then I ate a sandwich and I smoked some weed. And of course I felt better, which is what I should have done in the first place. And then I texted my therapist back. And I said, like, look, I apologize for the things I said, but I think this is connected to this, and I think it all ties into the other thing that we've been talking about, and I think this is good. I think this was a sad, dramatic day, but I think there's some goodness that came out of it, and I think I gained some introspection, and then, of course, 24 hours later, he texted me back saying, I think we should see other people. So that's the personal hell that I'm currently living in right now. It's done wonders for my abandonment issues. I have a new therapist who I have not talked with yet, and I'm not feeling optimistic. But the tie around to that story is that this has been just a doom-filled week. There was no silver lining to be found in any situation other than the fact that this episode was coming up. This was the one thing that I looked forward to every day, and it was literally the only bright spot in my week.
This is a lot of pressure on me, Kaz. Oh man, I don't know what to say. I'd suggest, like, you want to reschedule, but no, I don't want to. Forget I said that. If this is what you need, then I'm here for you, man, and we're gonna do it.
I love how my long rambling story about me speaking openly about an emotional moment, which was then immediately reciprocated by someone shutting me down and saying, let's not talk anymore. I love how your response to that was, do you want to do this another night? Did you not learn? Were you not paying attention to the story?
Oh no, I was paying definitely close attention to what you were saying, and my thought went to, oh, I am not at all qualified to be the sympathetic ear in this. Oh no.
I'm just trying to pepper this very special episode of the show by letting you and the rest of the audience know how not great I'm doing. And with that, hello, however you wish to self-identify as my voice breaks. And welcome to a very special episode of The Fuck Is This, where we dive through DVD bins, but not tonight, sort through streaming apps, nope, to find the weird, the bizarre, and the unloved. I'm your host, Kaz Lescard, and joining me always is my co-host, Jameson Rafter, looking very dapper in a tuxedo t-shirt.
Thank you. I was gonna say I'm a real paragon of sympathy, aren't I? Yeah, no, I'm all dolled up for this special occasion. I'm wearing a tuxedo t-shirt that my friend Perry, who was a groomsman for a wedding years ago, lent to me. And it's sort of been something that I've had just in my shirt drawer for years. It doesn't fit anymore. I've been meaning, like, for one last ride for this damn thing before I send it off to a thrift store.
Is this the last ride?
This is the last ride, yes.
Well,
but yes, welcome everyone to our 50th episode.
51st episode.
Our 50th episode, yes.
51st episode. We're saying different things.
What are we saying?
Last episode was our 50th episode.
Right. Oh, well, if we want to get into semantics, we have those episodes where we just reviewed trailers. And we recorded
so technically this is the 52nd episode.
We recorded an episode that we haven't released. And
that doesn't count.
What about, and I think you've even mentioned on our last episode that this would be the 50th movie we watched. Technically our 51st, because we pre-gamed one movie to watch for a recording session, now, and then our guest had to bow out at the last second.
But does that raise the question, if we watch a movie and we don't record an episode with it, is that really even an episode? If a movie is watched and no one's around to comment about it on the internet, does it even exist? I just gave the game away. So we're doing things a little bit different. Yeah, it's you know what it is, man? This is the 50th episode celebration.
Yes, it is.
It's a celebration that we're doing tonight, which is why you're dolled up and why I'm wearing the same sweat-caked t-shirt that I was wearing all day at work today, because I have 3 t-shirts. I don't know if you're aware of this or not. I know 3 articles of clothing and like half a pair of shorts, which is great because it's really hot outside. So
I mean, that's really all you need.
So, because this intro is running long, as it tends to do, so what we're doing today on the show, Jameson, we have watched 50 movies together. This podcast, for those of you who are just tuning in, for those of you who are starting off this as
what
your
an
first
episode to tune in on. Our 50th episode, and it begins with a very emotional inside peek at Kaz's life.
That's how I hook them. That's how I get the claws in right at the beginning. It's my same approach to dating as well. I tell the saddest, most pathetic aspects of my life, and then people take me home like a lost puppy, and then I hump their leg and pee on the carpet. Some people
whatever gets points on the board, man.
Some people pay that. All right, so what we're doing is we've watched 50 episodes on this podcast. This podcast that we do that started off with a dream. And that dream was to watch a random episode of the television show 24 and then talk over it. But then later became a completely different dream, mostly because I forced Jameson to do it.
Oh, from humble beginnings. No, to be honest, as much as the Jack Bauer Power Hour was, I still think a very fun idea for a show. This format definitely plays to your strengths better. And it was something that really dawned on both of us as we were watching, and you pointing out, just like arbitrary cast members in every episode. And you say, oh, this character or this actor was in this project. And this ties into some other movie, and we went down these amazing rabbit holes, and we figured, there's a better nugget of an idea for a show that we can go down. And,
maybe
2 years and 50 episodes later, I think it's safe to say that we succeeded.
So we're taking a little stroll down memory lane, and actually, when you think about it, this actually is a pretty good episode to start off with. Because what we're going to do is we're going to run down all 50 movies that we've done episodes on so far on the podcast. We're going to cover them.
We're going to save you, the listener, some time.
Briefest of briefs. Yes, exactly. And then well, here's the catch-22, is that we're going to run down all 50 movies and we're going to rank them from best to worst. But, so that won't really tell you which episodes to listen to. It will tell you which movies to watch and which movies to avoid, but it doesn't say anything necessarily about the quality of the episode entirely. I know for a fact sometimes we review very good movies, but the episode in particular is one of our worst, so it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
Yeah, and there will be times where, like, you and I we mostly agree on whether something is deemed watchable or not. There's the occasional time where we disagree on what is worth people's time to watch. There'll be times where like we say that, oh, this movie is so awful, everybody has to see it. You know, it's a very loose format that we've always sort of fallen to. And like you and I have different tastes as far as like what constitutes like a good bad movie or a good movie. We really run the gamut, and it's interesting the places that we've gone to in our discussions. I would encourage other people to just, you know, put us on in the background and listen to a couple of jackasses from Canada to like do these deep breakdowns on movies that really don't deserve a lot of good breakdowns. But again, we go to some interesting places, and if you like the sound of our voices and just, you know, something to fill out some dead air in your life, you can do a lot worse than our show.
And if you don't like the sound of our voices, I just want to let you know I take no hard feelings to it whatsoever, because I don't like the sound of my voice. I had a realization in this week leading up to this episode in particular. I went back to some of the earliest episodes, and I started listening to them again just to sort of reignite the nostalgia of the place we were, at the very least, at the place we were in time where we were allowed to go around and breathe openly and touch things and
hang out together.
Lick fence posts But every time I went back to listen to an episode, I ran once again into the unique problem of realizing my podcast isn't for me. I'm not a fan of my own podcast.
That's just Jameson Rafter and Kaz Lesgar.
That one guy is fine, but the other guy, they need to get out of there. The guy who can never stay on his voice, the guy who gets raspy. All right, we're going down the road of self-pity here. But,
I mean, we've had like the growing pains and the trials and tribulations of two amateurs going through the paces of this. Like, our earliest episodes were recorded in my not soundproofed apartment with one microphone shared between the two of us, who, you know, even though you are a professional actor and I have gone through broadcasting school and do work as an audio producer, neither of us have really good microphone control, especially in those early episodes. But, you know, like that was 50 episodes ago. And in that time, we've gotten more comfortable at it. We've gone in and out of working out of a professional recording studio, figuring out how to do our proper mic setups in our own individual homes. So yeah, I think it's important to note that, like, we're trying.
And, you know, and the thing is that our audience is quite small. It's not, we're not even like super aware of what like the full numbers are. Although this week in particular, in fact, I think it was yesterday, you told me we are now at 100 subscribers on YouTube.
That's correct. And as of today, we are at 101 subscribers on YouTube.
All right. You did also mention half of those are probably bots.
Most likely.
Yeah. But,
money well spent. No,
we don't
put any money into this show whatsoever. This podcast has cost us money to book like the recording studio time, and
most podcasts do cost money. That is a thing that they all share. But you know what? I don't discriminate. If you are a robot and you're listening to the show, we appreciate it. That's why I start every episode with hello, however you wish to self-identify. All right, so enough of this gay preamble. What we're going to do is we need to stay on track because we have 50 of these movies to get through. So I think to keep us on track, we need to do something that we've been threatening to do for years but never seem to get around to doing it. We're going to actually time ourselves. And I think in an effort not to have this end up being a 5-hour episode, we should devote 2 minutes to every movie. And I think what we can do is we can evenly divide that time up. So for the first minute, one of us, we can switch off or we can volunteer or whatnot. For the first minute, I think we should try and recap as much of the plot as we can in 60 seconds. And then for the next 60 seconds, we decide where it goes on the list. and if there's anything else we want to briefly say about it. And for some of these movies, we probably won't need a full 2 minutes. Others, we might need 10, just to get through what some of the plots are. But we'll see, and we'll time ourselves on our end here. We should also note that Jameson and I are currently screen sharing just a simple Word document. We're just going to put the movie on the list, and then the next movie, if it's better or worse, we'll put it underneath that, and then hopefully by the end we'll have the list that we want. We thought about doing one of those tier lists until about 15 minutes ago when we realized neither of us know how to do one of those.
Well, it's not so much that we don't know how to do it. We didn't know the online method of how to do it. It was one of those things where, like, with more forethought, we probably could have set up an actual tier list for it. But fuck it, we're doing it live.
It's not. It's not so much that we don't know how to do it. It's that we can't be asked to learn. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we know how to do it now, and it's far too late.
So the two more things that I want to throw into this. As well, in the already very small time frame that I've given us here, is right at the very end after we've summed up the movie and we've decided where it goes on the list. I thought it might be fun to throw out who we think gave the best performance in the movie. So each of us can pick a performer from the movie that we remember. Yeah, as best as you can remember. I mean, but that's also part of the fun too, is when we're doing the recap of the plot to see how much we remember. Some of these I have not thought about since we recorded the episode, so it will be fun to see if we can figure it out.
I did go back and re-listen to some of those episodes just to see, like, did I like that movie? I forget. I feel like I liked it. I feel like I didn't like it.
Did that movie have a plot? Right. Yeah, so throw out our favorite performance. And the other thing, this won't apply to every movie, but I thought when it does come up, I thought we should maybe collect a couple of nominees for the final category of Best Original Song. Because we have a lot of a lot of original songs pop up in our show. That's a reoccurring thing. Yeah. So I think if it pops up, I'll just write it down here on the paper, and then once we've done the list, we can run through all the nominees for our favorite song, and then pick the best one.
Sure. I mean, you know me, Kaz. You probably know which I'm already going to pick.
I know it'll be the first one, and we'll go through the entire movie, and it'll end up being the one. I already know which one you're going to pick, Jameson. Yes, I do.
In the violence of the night. Now, if I may, two caveats to that. We've done like a small handful of musical movies for episodes. Yes. So maybe for those ones, if we're nominating a song, maybe just not limit it to one song.
Yes, I agree. Yes. We're not like the Oscars. We're not going to have 3 from Dreamgirls or anything here where, yes, we're just going to pick one. And in some cases, we might pick a musical and we don't look, nominate a song that you think is genuinely good. Because there's lots of songs that we've covered. A lot of them are not good.
And another thing I wanted to mention is, and like maybe I'll just do this in lieu of thinking of something nice or poignant to say about these movies. I did go through the list of all of our YouTube uploads just to see which ones had like the highest view count and which ones have like the greatest discrepancy of likes to dislikes, which I think may be kind of fun to bring up.
All right, we'll add in an additional few seconds for us to stroke our egos or flail ourselves with our own shame.
Maybe a little bit of both.
I'm almost ready. Give me half a second here. I'm just gonna grab something.
Sure.
This is all staying in. No, I'll edit this out.
I mean, let's be honest, at one point I'm probably gonna have to go for a bathroom break.
I just want to take a couple of Tums because my garbage body is falling apart and I need to eat about a quarter bottle of Tums every day. I'm gonna eat it on mic.
Have yourself a Tums festival.
I wonder if this is getting picked up. Do you know how hard it is ever since the pandemic started, it is genuinely hard to find Tums anywhere. Like, you need to get to a pharmacy at the beginning of the day, or someone will come through and just, like, knock them all into their shopping cart, as I imagine, like, supermarket sweepstakes music plays.
Crazy. I wonder why. Tums prevents coronavirus. It's safer than the vaccine.
And the annoying thing is I've now become one of those people that goes into the store, and if a pharmacy has Tums, I'll have to buy 4 bottles. I'll have to be the person that buys all the Tums, because someone else will come and be the person that buys all the Tums. Anyway, this is all fascinating. This is all staying in. Alright, we ready?
Oh yeah, born ready.
Okay, so you're gonna do the timer on your end, and you're gonna let me know when the 2 minutes are up, yes?
Yes.
Okay, and I guess I'll do the first plot synopsis.
Okay.
Okay, so let me know when my first minute is up.
Sure.
Okay, alright, here we are, listing, ranking all 50 of the movies that we've covered on the episode, on the podcast, The Fuck Is This? Which, I said that was the name of the podcast, right? Yes, I did. Alright, cool. The Fuck Is This? Ranking all 50 episodes, here we go.
Again? Oh yeah. The same thing we've been doing like every other week for the last 2 years.
Alright, movie number 1 is Reach Me. The plot of Reach Me is there's this homeless man who wrote a self-help book, and there's a whole bunch of people in I think it's Miami, I don't even know. There's a gangster, it's Tom Sizemore. He doesn't like it when people call him names. Kelsey Grammer's his boss, he punched him in the face. Sylvester Stallone is the editor of a newspaper or magazine. He likes to cuck Kevin Connolly, who smokes, but then he doesn't smoke anymore. And then Tom Berenger gives a speech to a whole group of people, and Tom Sizemore gets his nose bit off by a CGI dachshund, and everyone finds happiness and peace and love, except for Danny Trejo, who's shot earlier. Also, Terry Crews is there, and he's in a suit, and he's looking nice. He's looking good. And, just, believe in yourself and stuff. Is it still 1 minute?
You just passed the 1 minute mark.
Maybe we don't need, a full minute. Maybe we only need 30 seconds. Anyway, yeah, that's the plot of Reach Me. So it's number 1. Just by virtue of being first on the list. Any thoughts on Reach Me, Jameson?
I mean, that was the first step in our journey. That was my first exposure to what would be us considered the a fuck is this movie. Since then, I think we've watched weirder stuff, worse stuff. I think it's a very good baseline of a movie for what our podcast became. The plot itself is, what did I equate it to? It's a more feel-good version of Seven Psychopaths.
Which is a comparison I still don't get after 2 years. I don't know if I agree with that.
All right, fine. But yeah, it was sort of a wannabe stylish crime movie, but it was also elements of a feel good. I don't know. I thought it was weird enough. I thought it was funny, seeing Sylvester Stallone in hipster glasses and a trilby. I don't know. It's fine. But as is the case with these movies where would I recommend it? I'm always thinking of my buddies who I would always watch these shitty B movies with, way back in the day when we would have bad movies nights. And I say yeah, maybe these guys will get a kick out of it. I don't know. Maybe you will too, listener.
All right, yeah, we're way over 2 minutes. We're already off the mark. Yeah, no, I'm gonna keep this rolling just for a little bit longer. Yeah, this was the movie that started everything. We didn't even mention the fucking weird, but both the DVD box cover and the theatrical poster for this are both absurd. So just Google Reach Me poster currently right now. Yeah, this is a singularly weird movie that it just defies explanation. You really have to see it to believe it. It is 100% seeing is believing type situation. We gotta move on. Favorite performance, I'm just gonna say for his multitude of monologues, I'm just gonna have to say Sly Stallone.
Stallone, absolutely, yeah. Everyone else in the movie, I can't even remember their performance. Maybe Tom Jane. But other than that, no. The stand-up performance is Sylvester Stallone, with special commendation going to Kelsey Grammer for his 1 minute cameo where he punches out Tom Berenger on a golf course.
Tom Sizemore, but yeah, he punches a Tom. He punches a Tom. That's
the other Tom in this movie.
Didn't think about it, but there's a lot of Toms in that movie. At least 3.
Which is way too many Toms.
Way too many Toms. Moving on. You know what? Reach Me. Bottom of the list. Too many Toms. Moving on. Movie number 2.
Laser Mission.
Are you timing?
Oh shit, yeah.
You gotta start the timer over every time. Otherwise there's no point in timing.
Okay, yeah. Laser Mission. A movie that I hold very near and dear to my heart. It is a very low-budget spy-ish espionage thriller starring Brandon Lee as this wise-ass, almost CIA operative, but he's kind of like an independent contractor who is assigned to go after or to rescue Ernest Borgnine because he has been kidnapped by a coalition of German and Soviet militia to construct a nuclear weapon by means of a stolen diamond, which is never really explained and probably impossible. Brandon Lee partners up with a lady who we're told is a KGB agent, but then the movie forgets about that, and Brandon Lee forgets about that, and fucking hijinks ensue. That's the movie.
That's the timing, yes.
58 seconds.
There we go. Yeah, we filled the moment. Yeah, no, Laser Mission, fantastic, and I think it clearly is better than Reach Me, so I think we can go ahead and put that above that. That's just like an incredibly low budget, very dumb, but also very awesome cheesy action movie that was directed by stuntman Bo B.J. Davis. Who we learned many cool things about over the course of this. Yeah, there's lots of cool side characters like the two knucklehead like hedge people who are like Team Rocket, if I remember. Yeah, and it was like Brandon Lee's first movie, so it like holds a place in cultural significance. Yeah, good movie. Check that out.
Just like for full disclosure, there are a couple of movies that I recommended for this podcast that I think I have a little bit more of a sentimental value to because I've seen this movie movies like Laser Mission a dozen times. Like, I think I watched it back in 2007. I have a bunch of inside jokes from it that I share with all my friends. So I may be going into some of these movies with a little bit of a bias. So just a heads up.
Speaking of biases, we might as well get our first nomination for Best Original Song out of the way right now. Of course, Laser Mission has the original song Mercenary Man by who, Jameson?
Mark Knopfler's brother.
Yes. Who we made like we should also point out was a member of Dire Straits.
Yes.
That's the thing that we keep, like I think on the episode we're all like, hey, remember Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits? Well, his brother did this, and it's like, he's also in the band, but yes, Mercenary Man.
Which is just a hilariously cheesy theme song to this movie. And it would kind of be forgettable if it weren't for the fact that the movie won't let you forget it. It keeps finding new ways to crop up throughout the movie.
Who's your top performance? Who gave the best performance in the movie?
Ernest Borgnine with his awful German accent.
Didn't even try. That's Jameson's nominee. My nominee is the second assassin, who falls off the horse. That guy made the movie. He was dressed like a history professor. I loved him. He was great. Okay, that's Laser Mission. Moving on to episode 3, which was our first Halloween episode before we came up with the whole concept of doing that in September. Even though I think we recorded that episode in late November? I don't know. I don't really remember.
January, yeah.
Anyway, so it's Dracula 3000, directed by acclaimed South African filmmaker Daryl James Root. So there's a bunch of space marines. They're up in space. They're going around. They're doing space things. And they find a ship that's been abandoned. Udo Kier was on that ship, and he left a bunch of video messages. They find a bunch of coffins. And they send Tom Tiny Lister Jr., R.I.P., and Coolio to go check them out. And Coolio cuts his hand, and he drips his open wound directly into one of the coffins for some reason. And Coolio loves weed. I should have mentioned that earlier. And then Dracula comes out. And not like a space Dracula, but like a super lame, like dad Halloween Dracula who looks like he wants to sell you supermarket food. And then most of the people die, and then Tom Tiny Lister Jr. and an android fly the ship into the sun after they have that hot robot sex.
50 seconds. But like I started a little late. But
that's
still.
good. That's all the time we need to spend on that one there. Do we put this at 3, or do we go ahead and put it at like
near
50?
The bottom?
We might as well put it, this is bad. This is very bad. Very bad movie.
This was our first across the board, like, do not recommend movie. I'm gonna put it right here at number 45.
Okay.
Yeah,
this system
movie,
might come back to bite us in the ass later, Bo. I guess we'll figure it out.
Yeah, God, yes, this movie was a real eyesore. It was incredibly stupid. The biggest laughs just came from the fact that it was like a Halloween store version of Dracula and not like a sci-fi looking Dracula. It very much was like, the billowing cape and the tuxedo and the white chalky face version of Dracula in space for no discernible reason. And that's where most of the laughs came from. Yeah.
They also tried to sell us a bill of goods, or the opposite of what a bill of goods is. They tried to sell us a lemon because the DVD cover featured sort of like this tech arachnid Dracula, and what we got was fucking Uncle Fester. Yeah, no, yeah. It was real bad.
Like, that was laughably bad, but it wasn't enough to save the movie.
No. Best performance?
Coolio. He was like legitimately enjoyable to watch because he was hamming it up as this like once he turned into the vampire, he went for it. He swung for the fences.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll throw my hand to the Coolio ring as well, and I'll give an honorable mention, of course, to the late Tiny Lister because he was doing his thing. He was playing a real piece of shit in that movie, but he did it well. So what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say that is like the nicest thing I've ever heard you say about Coolio. Anyways, now we move on.
We're not reopening that old
first like running gag was like your ongoing feud with Coolio.
Not opening that old woundio. All right, episode 4 is the first movie that we had with 2 names. It was also the first time we covered a director that tried to hide the fact that he worked on the movie. So this is Desert Heat, which in some regions was known as Inferno, and it was directed. It was the last movie directed by Oscar-winning filmmaker John Avildsen, who directed Rocky and The Karate Kid. Do you want to try and recount the plot of Desert Heat?
Sure.
All right.
Have you guys seen Yojimbo? It's Yojimbo. Jean-Claude Van Damme is I suppose like a former Marine or whatever, and he's trying to seek out his old friend Danny Trejo to gift him a motorcycle before Jean-Claude Van Damme commits suicide. He runs across this very small, sleepy town that's right smack dab in the middle of a turf war between some rednecks and some motorcycle guys. And basically, Jean-Claude Van Damme cleans up the town of all these criminals with the help of some very eccentric and colorful townsfolk, including Danny Trejo, who may or may not be a ghost.
There we go. That saved a bunch of time. Yeah.
I didn't even time myself for that, but I'm going to say that that was under a minute.
I'm going to say this is a solid number 2. This is better than Reach Me, even though I personally like Reach Me quite a bit, but I think this was a little bit of a pleasant surprise. I think in terms of straight to DVD Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, you think you're getting one thing, and you're certainly getting what you want when you're getting a straight to DVD Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, but this gives you a little bit more. It gives you a little wackiness. It's got great character actors like Pat Morita and Vincent Schiavelli and Larry Drake. A really sort of like wacky, offbeat little cast, and in the center of it, Jean-Claude Van Damme trying to act.
Yeah, there's like when you imagine these Jean-Claude Van Damme straight to DVD sequels, you just a picture of it like, oh, it's a very fastly made action movie. There's probably going to be no comedy to it. It'll just be like straight machismo. But there's so much, as you said, wackiness and quirkiness to the movie that I can't tell if it was like totally intentional or that just came across like in the final product. But yeah, this is a delightful watch, and I do recommend this.
All right, favorite performance?
Ooh, maybe Pat Morita.
I seem to remember I really liked
like
Bill.
Mr. Miyagi to his character as just like this happy-go-lucky fixer who also had like he had a bit of a dirty mind too at one point.
I'm gonna vote for Bill Irwin, who was like the old emphysema man with the long johns, who was basically the armorer, and he had all the guns in the town. That guy was great. I had a lot of fun with that guy. With my second choice being Ghost Trejo. All right, episode number 5. Aspen Extreme.
That was the first movie of ours to crack 1,000 views on YouTube. Inexplicably.
for some fucking reason.
Yeah.
A lot of fucking fans of that movie. A lot of fucking skiing fans.
All right, so Paul Gross is a dissatisfied foreman worker at some auto shop in Detroit. He has ambitions to be a screenwriter, or he has ambitions to be a published author. So he uproots himself and his best friend Dexter, played by now director Peter Berg, to go to Aspen, Colorado, where they become ski instructors. TJ, who is played by Paul Gross, really excels in the role and catches the eye of two local heartthrobs, Bryce and Robin, who are essentially like Betty and Veronica of the movie. Long story short, TJ inadvertently winds up killing his best friend who he neglects, and then he finds redemption by winning this downhill ski competition.
Okay, there are two things that I want to say about that. Number one, you don't have to say long story short. We're summing up a plot of a movie in 30 seconds. That's the entire idea, long story short. Yeah. Secondly, there is no way you remembered the name of both love interests. You looked that up ahead of time.
Guilty. Well, like, Lord knows I don't remember the name of the actresses.
Fucking Bryson, whatever. Fucking bullshit. No way do you remember. I'm genuinely surprised you remembered TJ and Dexter. I knew it was something stupid like that.
Well, I mean, as I mentioned in the episode, this holds like somewhat of a significance to me because I had an email correspondence with the film's writer and director way back in the day when I was looking to become a screenwriter. So I was recommended this film by the guy, which is why I'm a little upset that it has such a high view count because we tore it to shreds. He's going to find out about it.
We're going to continue to do that. I'm going to put this at number 4. This goes underneath Reach Me, I think. Unless you disagree.
That high, eh? Okay.
Well, but this is the thing, is we're gonna replace shit as we go along. So technically Dracula 3000 should be at 5 now, because of the 5 movies we've ranked, it is that. That's why I said I think that's gonna come back and bite us in the ass, so we'll just have to do that. Also, you don't, I feel like having the numbers there, you could just make the list and then add the numbers in once we're done, because now you need to like type in like a new thing every time? I don't know.
I don't mind.
This is all technical stuff. Alright, great. Favorite performance in that movie?
The fat guy who didn't know how to ski.
It was funny when he fell down because he was fat. I agree.
Like, that whole movie took itself far too seriously, and it was an absolute drag. And all of a sudden, here comes, like, the wacky character that you see in one of these screwball ski comedies right in the middle of this movie to lighten the mood. And then as soon as he leaves, like, now we're back to feeling shitty for Peter Berg's character.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that. And hey, speaking of screwball ski comedies, episode number 6 was Hot Dog, the movie. I will attempt to recount the plot in 60 seconds. So there's a guy, he likes to ski. I don't remember his name, and I did not look it up. He meets a cute girl on the road, and they get a hotel room together, and they have some of that good sex. And then they get up to the mountain, and they meet a bunch of colorful characters. Then he meets Playboy Playmate of the Year, Shannon Tweed. And then they go to a party, and they have some of that good sex. And then there's like an evil German skier, and he's all like, the Germans are better at the skiing than you are. And he's all like, USA! And then they do, what was it called? It was like called the Chinese downhill, right? And they have cool as balls skiing thing, and America wins. Fuck yeah! And also rape jokes.
Lots of rape jokes.
That's the plot. That's the plot of Hot Dog, the movie. A movie that should be more fun, but isn't. But kind of is. I don't know. It's in a weird area there where, like, I feel like that episode in particular is very hard to go back and listen to because we really like saying that movie is problematic, and we're so fucking up. We're so high up on our fucking, like, social justice horses and everything. It's all like, we're good white men. I don't know. What do you think of Hot Dog the movie, Jameson?
I think we rated that as a maybe because the goofier aspects of the comedy were somewhat endearing. I mean, I think we've seen funnier shitty comedies since then. I would rank this as a better movie than Aspen Extreme at the very least.
I agree. I think it's a better skiing movie. I think the skiing is better in that. I think the Chinese downhill is better than whatever. Yeah.
Favorite performance?
It's gotta be my boy Squirrel Murphy for having my favorite line.
No, as far as like favorite character, I'd have to go with David Norton in it as like sort of like the fucking laid back alcoholic who just supplied everyone on the ski hill with booze. As you think you described him as like Chevy Chase's character in Caddyshack.
Yeah, Chevy Chase and the white guys. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a likable scamp in this movie that has a lot of problematic men in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Now, immediately going on to another screwball comedy that worked a hell of a lot better, in my opinion. The follow-up, well, not the follow-up to Hot Dog the movie, but like this, let's call it the spiritual sequel to Hot Dog the movie, which of course is Hamburger the Motion Picture.
And go.
Alright, so there's a guy, he can't get into college because his problem is that all the ladies want to have sex with him no matter where he goes. All the ladies are just throwing themselves at them for more of that good sex. And he can't get into any college because of it, because every time he goes to take an interview, some lady sexes him. So he says, you know what? I'm gonna go to burger college and I'm gonna make burgers for, what is it called? I think it's Buster Burger. He meets a bunch of wacky friends, and they go on hamburger-related shenanigans, and there's lots of farting and nudity, and one guy gets turned into a chicken because they inject him with the chicken semen. And at the end, a bunch of fat people come, and they blow up a restaurant by farting a bunch. This movie's great. This movie's, I really genuinely love Hamburger the Motion Picture more than I should, and I will not apologize for it.
That's the opportune word. You like it more than you should, because we're not brilliant men, but we're kind of smart guys, and this movie is far too dumb for any audience, and therefore we love it. It is beyond ridiculous.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think maybe I am a dumb person, and maybe this movie is exactly for me.
All I'm gonna say is, like, I do not disagree with you whatsoever. Like, I'm just ashamed to say that we like it.
So, now the real question is, where does this go on the list? I'm gonna make
Is it better than Laser Mission?
It is not better than Laser Mission. I am gonna make a bold statement. I think it's number 2.
I think it's number 2.
I think it's number 2. I think Desert Heat is certainly a better made movie than this, but I just got a soft spot for it, and I also, while we're on the subject of it, I also want to say, I think this is my personal favorite episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite movie that we've covered, but it's my personal favorite episode that we've recorded, not recovered, because it's the one where we go down the rabbit hole of the B.J. Davis conspiracy theory, which it's still, to date, maybe my favorite thing that I've done on the show. And also, it had that great reveal where Nick Rinka, our guest, didn't realize Rob Paulson was in the movie. And his genuine elation when he found out absolutely warmed my heart. That was like one thing that I set up, that the payoff worked so fucking well. So, Hamburger
if I wasn't there, I would have sworn that was fucking scripted, but it wasn't. And like, yes, having sat on the couch and seeing like the joy in his eyes, like that made it all worthwhile. Okay. What is fucking next here?
So the next movie is our very first entry in the WrestleMania sub.
Yeah, which is a theme that spawned just by my friends suggesting you should review a movie starring wrestlers. And as it turns out, there are a lot of shitty movies starring wrestlers. So yeah, we decided to start off with a Rowdy Roddy Piper and David Carradine joint. This like fucking weird sci-fi. So the premise of it is...
What's the name of the movie, though? You haven't said the name of the movie.
Didn't I say The Shepherd?
It is The Shepherd, a.k.a. Cyber City, a movie that genuinely might not exist anymore, and you might not be able to find it ever again, because we watched it on YouTube, and it is gone now.
That is actually a nice little feather in our cap, though. We reviewed a movie that may have ceased to exist. There is no Wikipedia article on it. We can't find it on any fucking streaming site. We were lucky to catch it on YouTube when we did.
It exists on IMDb and IMDb alone.
And in our memories and in our hearts. So, yes, that movie is about, society has been driven underground where now there are several warring religious factions, and I forget the guy's name. Who even was that?
The Shepherd.
The Shepherd, yeah. He was sent by, oh god, what happens in it? He gets his memory erased and he's enlisted by Rowdy Roddy Piper's lieutenant, he's like this religious faction leader. He sends him to assassinate this one lady and her kid, but instead he befriends them and he protects them as they try to navigate this underground city, which eventually leads to a confrontation with Rowdy Roddy Piper, his lieutenant, and a weird little detour where we talk to David Carradine and a ventriloquist dummy.
Yep, pretty much. This was a big old turd.
Ooh.
And it's probably good that no one can watch it. Although, kind of not, because you are missing the genuinely amazing David Carradine performance.
Yeah.
Boy, that guy. I mean, like, he just started in, like, a lot of shit, like, all the way throughout his career, and I mean, like, it's impossible to make the statement that he's always good whenever he pops up, but certainly whenever he's popped up in movies that we've watched, he's usually the best part of it. And I think that's a fair assumption to make with this one, too. Sorry, Ronnie.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, like, his performance is him as a ventriloquist, and yet the ventriloquist dummy doesn't say anything. I think we made the point that David Carradine is more of an impressionist, and he says lines that we imagine would have been meant for the dummy, but
the dummy
David
talks
Carradine...
a little bit, but like it's more David Carradine doing accents. And, like, occasionally the dummy will talk. And, like, David Carradine's moving his mouth. He's not ventriloquisting anything. But I remember, like, the dummy was, like, weirdly sassy and effeminate. It was all like, get your fat ass out of here, or something like that. I don't remember. I remember he said ass.
And per the Roddy Piper stuff, he's just doing his Rowdy Roddy Piper
That was me knocking over my tongue.
He's just doing, like, his Rowdy Roddy Piper shtick as, like, a religious leader. Which I suppose if you're a fan, that's funny to see. But yeah, this movie was a bit of a wash.
This goes above Dracula 3000, and I think we agree that David Carradine is the best part of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Alright, cool. The only thing that I want to say about The Shepherd is that it brought to my attention an actor named Mackenzie Gray, who's a local Vancouver actor, who is one of the only times I have ever friended someone on Facebook that I have never met before. And I occasionally, I don't know. It feels weird to say I follow someone on social media. All I'll say is Mackenzie Gray, he seems like a cool guy. I would love to meet him. I would love to invite him to
Shepherd.
I'd love to invite him to be on the podcast if we could find any remnants of the Shepherd to talk about it, but I'm far too nervous to try and ask him.
We are the only living record of the Shepherd.
Yes. Anyway, the next wrestling movie. This was the movie that actually kind of spurned WrestleMania. This was the one that was suggested to us by Scott.
Assault on Devil's Island.
Or Shadow Warriors.
Shadow Warriors, brother.
Shadow Warriors, brother.
So, like, the history of that movie is, we had originally seen the movie its sequel, which I think was called Shadow Warriors.
We started watching
without
it for
realizing
like 10
it was the sequel, and then we had to go back and realize, oh no, we gotta watch the first movie in the series. Sorry, let me just bust out the timer here. So, Hulk Hogan, Carl Weathers, and the actor who plays John Kreese, they apprehend this cocaine drug lord,
Cocaine Pants McGee.
Cocaine Pants McGee, and they bring him stateside, but then his henchmen kidnap a bunch of, like, junior gymnasts and trap them on, like, some floating island prison. And
It's Devil's Island.
On Devil's Island. And so Hulk Hogan, Carl Weathers, Shannon Tweed, and John Kreese have to go rescue them from the guy who played Kano in Mortal Kombat and Billy Blanks. This movie is hilarious and awesome and stupid for all the right reasons.
I love how you legitimately can sum up the plot of this movie just by saying who's in it. Like you literally, all you did in that plot description was just list the name of the actors, and that was it. You didn't really, but you still said what happened from beginning to the end of it. It was kind of amazing, yeah.
Oh, did I forget to mention that at one point a shark blows up?
I mean, that you buried the lead, frankly, yes. I think is what that's the main thing that I remember from the movie. A common theme that happens on this podcast is we do cover movies that have major identity crises. And this is one that really doesn't seem to be able to make up its mind what it's called. And it won't be the first time.
But it knows exactly what it wants to be. That is like a made-for-TV movie that was meant to hype up a new TV series, but instead they just made like a very short-lived film series based on it.
And for that reason, I think... Now this may be the first one that we genuinely disagree with. For that reason, I think it's number 4.
Yeah.
Are you good with that?
Better than Reach Me. Yeah, I can agree with that.
But not as good as Desert Heat? Yeah, no, okay. That's a fair comparison. All right, cool. Best performance.
Oh, like, there's so many.
I am gonna tip my hat to the late Trevor Goddard, who played the villain in that Breaker. Yeah, not so much because of his performance in that, but because I recently rewatched Mortal Kombat, and he's good in that. And I remember that he was in this movie. So he gets my vote.
I think just by sheer amount of him just being the fake tough guy that he is, I'm gonna have to go with Hulk Hogan. Maybe, like, just like, you know, like he gets bitten by a shark and he just brushes it off. Like, I don't know. I get a kick out of stuff like, no, I changed my vote to whoever played Derek. The actual hero.
Derek!
Of that
Oh my god, I forgot about Derek.
Fucking nameless extra who was part of like the rescue mission and who did the majority of the legwork to save the day.
Will we cover Shadow Warriors 2 in an upcoming episode? Only one way to find out. You gotta stay tuned. You gotta keep listening. Keep listening to the podcast. I know.
The long-awaited review of Shadow Warriors, brother.
It's what we have to title the episode that. Even if that is not the name of the movie, that has to be the title of the.
I'm telling you right now, like if we found that movie years ago when we were just searching on YouTube, and we found a movie title on YouTube: Shadow Warriors, brother.mp4. So.
Yes, the MP4 will be part of the episode title. Yes, it will. Yeah, definitely. All right, we're doing good. We are an hour into the recording, and we are on movie 10. We're doing good.
We're doing great.
All right, movie 10. This is Wrong Side of Town, which I will recount. Now, Rob Van Dam plays an architect who likes to chop trees in half with his bare hands. He gets new neighbors, and they go out on the town to a nightclub / sushi restaurant where the owner is a criminal and the owner's brother is a crazy rapist that tries to sexually assault Rob Van Dam's wife, who he defends and then accidentally kills the man in self-defense. So they get a hit put out on them, and they have to drive all around the wrong side of town to avoid all of the henchmen and the assassins. Eventually, they hook up with Dave Bautista, who is on his way to star in good movies, and then Ja Rule gets shot in the head somewhere along the way. That's a real stinker. Real stinker of a movie.
I hated this movie. This was an obnoxious movie I hated the soundtrack. The action was like that awful, like, zoom in, quick cut, no steady cam. Yeah, there's like hardly any redeeming factors to it. We had a great guest for that episode. Like, I would have loved to have just like shot the shit with him for an hour and a half.
I think we genuinely take 40 minutes before we get into start talking about the movie on that episode. Yeah, that was kind of wild. Yeah, that was Mike Kovac, who is known amongst ECCW as Christopher Cassidy, an actual wrestling manager. So yeah, he had lots of insight onto the wrestling scene. I can see, Jameson, you have already put Wrong Side of Town below Dracula 3000. That is a bold move.
Are you gonna fight me on this?
I think Dracula 3000's worse.
Okay, wow.
I think Wrong Side of Town is bad, but
fair enough.
I think there is a certain fan base that will get exactly what they want out of Wrong Side of Town. I don't think any fan base exists for Dracula 3000, is my argument there.
Okay, fair enough. You know, like, we clearly aren't the demographic for, like, those cheap, macho tough guy wrestlers and action movie kind of stuff. And, you know, I don't want to sound like an elitist prick about these sort of things, but...
Go on!
It's just not for me. And I can't imagine it's for any of my buddies.
Favorite performance? I wrote down the fight choreographer who gets his nipple cut off.
Sure. I maybe Batista, because he is genuinely in a few scenes the best actor, and he went on to be a better actor. There's one scene where he gives a really flat delivery. But...
Well, a piece of trivia that I remember about this movie is that this was the movie that, when Dave Bautista watched it, made him realize, oh, I need to take acting lessons. So, it's sort of an important movie if you think about it.
Sure, okay. Let's just move on. I hated this movie. The Flight of Dragons, our first animated movie.
And kind of, let's just say, kind of a weird movie for us to cover. Cause this is kind of, among certain circles, kind of an animated classic. Just not circles that either of us have ever run in before.
So this video had it has something like 4.7 thousand views on our YouTube channel.
Damn!
It has 14 likes and 25 dislikes. So a lot of people really hated us going after this movie, even though I think we both found it quite charming.
I think they just don't like us. I think our opinions are fine. They just don't like us in general.
To go over the plot, what's the guy's name? Not Andy Richter.
John Ritter.
John Ritter plays this middle-aged nerd who's trying to come up with this board game based on a D&D knockoff of his, and he is spirited away to this fantasy world by this earth wizard to combat the wizard of evil magic and monsters from poisoning the world of man. And while he's there, John Ritter is transformed into a dragon, and he learns the ins and outs of how dragons operate and the science behind their magical abilities. He partners up with some other fantasy characters, and they go up against the evil wizard. And in the end, John Ritter's big science brain defeats fantasy and magic.
Agreed. That is what happens. And the dragons inflate their bodies, and they're big, thick boys.
Mm-hmm.
That's my takeaway. Now, we're in a tricky spot here, because I liked Laser Mission more, but this is a better movie than Laser Mission. So what are we listing here? Are we listing our personal favorites, or are we listing quality of movie?
Yeah, see, that's why I was thinking about doing a tier list, because then we could sub good movies in sort of a same category rather than doing sort of a numbered breakdown.
I think we need to. I think this is more of how much we enjoyed them. I don't know.
Okay, in that respect, like I said before, I have a lot of sentimentality for Laser Mission, so it's got to take something pretty monumentally great to knock that off the list. I do think Flight of Dragons is a legitimately good movie, and also a movie that's funny bad enough that I could recommend it to my friends as hey, check this weird shit out. So I would mark it higher than both Desert Heat and Assault on Devil's Island.
Number 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm good in the respect of keeping this train running. Yeah. No, I'm good. I think a lot of these list placements are just going to be snap decisions. Favorite performance? I guess I'll say James Earl Jones, who is an absolute legend. He's just doing his blah type stuff. Do you concur?
Oh, fuck. Who? Give me a second here.
We don't have a second. We need to keep moving. I'm keeping us on this train.
I got nothing to do all night, man. All right. Who sang the song?
Oh, it was John Denver?
Don McLean.
Don McLean. So we have another candidate for best original song. That's 2 of them now. All right. Fair enough.
Yes. Yeah. So he gets my best performance and my nomination for song.
Fair enough. Moving on. Underdogs, which is another animated movie. This one is from
Argentina,
thank you. I was about to say Brazil, but that wasn't right. Here's the plot of Underdogs. There's a little boy. He likes playing foosball because this is an Argentinian movie and everyone loves playing foosball. And there's a bully, and he stands up to the bully by playing foosball. And then years later, the bully comes back, wants to bulldoze the entire town, and he cries on his foosball players. And they come to life through magic tears, and they help him find himself and his courage, and they all play football, and they win.
Yep,
that's the
40
plot.
Seconds, good man. I mean, just by sheer fact that animated movies take a lot of work and need a lot of pre-production stuff ironed out beforehand, this was probably one of the more competent movies that we had watched, and it's a kids movie. So, and that's not to say kids movies are inherently bad. but it's for a younger audience, and therefore, like, you have to forgive a few of the more head-scratching moments of it. It's a fine movie. I think a lot of the stuff that was sort of lost, or most of the humor that came from us, was talking about the amount of comedians that had, like, background supporting roles, and just the sheer amount of freedom they had to ad-lib stuff that was totally off script.
We also watched the American dub done by the Weinstein Company. So yeah, it was chock full of celebrity voices, some very odd choices, but also some very fun stuff. I remember, I think the best joke was, I think it was Jay Farrow, who was one of the announcers, and they kick a ball and then like a blimp falls down. I remember that being genuinely funny.
One of the darkest things I've seen in a kid's movie in a while.
Yeah, I think this movie is probably better if you don't watch the American dub, but having only seen the American dub, I think, again, it's fine. Let me see a little bit more of that list. I think Underdogs goes in between Hot Dog and Aspen Extreme.
Okay.
Best performance goes to a little-known actor from that movie. He was making his first appearance. His name is Mel Brooks, who was introducing Mel Brooks. It's a very weird thing on that DVD. I don't know why they were introducing Mel Brooks, but this movie introduces comedy legend Mel Brooks.
That it does, and that kid's going places.
He's going up.
Next up, we have the first of a quasi-series that I kickstarted. I have this Italian post-apocalyptic movie box set, and this was the first movie that we watched of that collection. It was called 1990 Bronx Warriors, and this is another one of those movies that I've loved for years, and again, I'm like totally biased on it.
So you're going to do the plot summary because you've seen this more times than I.
Sure. So, a young woman named Anne flees from Manhattan into the gang-ridden post-apocalyptic wasteland that is the Bronx, even though it's totally intact, because she does not want to inherit this huge arms corporation. While she's there, she befriends the leader of one of the gangs. His name is Trash, and he's the leader of like this motorcycle gang that's in a bit of a tense, uneasy truce with some other gangs. And all the gangs are like colorful The Warriors knockoffs. The corporation sends this bounty hunter named Hammer, who is like easily in his early 70s, and his gimpy friend Hot Dog to infiltrate the Bronx and go after her. While he's there, he instigates a gang war between the motorcycle gang and this gang of pimps. And in the end, everybody except the leader of the motorcycle gang dies.
I forgot there was a character named Hot Dog.
Hot Dog, this is Hammer.
Bold statement, this is number one.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think this unearths laser mission. I think this movie is pretty impressive. You don't have to immediately agree with me, but I just got this feeling about 1990 Bronx Warrior. Both of those movies.
I'm totally fine with these movies being like our 1 and 2 right now.
Yeah, both of these movies have the same kind of archaic, not quite sure how we're pulling this off aesthetic to it. I think out of the two of them, Bronx Warriors is just kind of better shot, better produced. Yeah, better production design, really. Better costumes.
For sure, yeah. No, like, there is some low-level artistry to the way that, like, certain scenes are shot, and I think that it's a little bit more inventive, even though, you know, it's supposed to be the post-apocalypse, but they couldn't close off some streets from, like, regular traffic. Yeah, there's a lot to laugh at in this movie, but at the end of the day, there's like this weird like courtyard intrigue thing between the head of the Riders and his number 2,
Iceman.
Usurp him. Yeah, Ice. Yeah.
Ice.
No, like I said, like I have a lot of inside jokes with my friends about this movie, and there's a reason I wanted this movie on the podcast and why it's, you know, been near and dear to me for so long.
Best performance?
Ooh, it's gotta be a toss-up between Vic Morrow, who plays the bounty hunter Hammer, because, like, Jesus Christ, he goes on a bit of a story, a bit of a character arc. And Fred Williamson, who plays the leader of the Pimps.
All right, and my vote is George Eastman in the role of Golem.
That's right.
All right, moving on, we have probably the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, and I kind of love it. This is going to be hard. This is genuinely going to be hard to figure out where to put this in the list. It is a movie.
You have the honors to recap the plot.
All right. This is a movie that no one has ever seen and no one ever talks about it. It is a movie called Last Hour. Here I go, attempting to explain the plot of this movie. So there are like 6 assassins. They all have like themed names like poker and blackjack and they're all like assassins and mobsters and thugs. And they all get an identical letter sent to them by their long-lost estranged father. They all amazingly have estranged fathers, which later becomes a plot point. And they are all asked to meet in this mansion in China. And when they get inside, it is revealed that this is a trap, and they are trapped inside. There is some sort of unseen killer or force who is making them go through trials and picking them off one by one. And on the outside, there are the cops trying to get in. The cast of this movie includes the recently departed DMX, as well as David Carradine once again, Michael Madsen, and poor Paul Sorvino in a rice patty hat, looking very lost. And it was written, directed, and starring a man who simply goes by the name of Kobe, which, with the passing of Kobe Bryant and the recent passing of DMX, makes this a doubly depressing movie to watch. Wow, gosh, this movie defies expectation. It is one of the shittiest, laziest, worst put together things I've ever seen. And I couldn't recommend it more. I couldn't recommend it more. It's also deathly boring, but there's just pockets of the absolute insanity, and it had me in stitches.
Yeah, I believe in our recording you equated it to something like The Room. And to that degree, The Room is clearly worse, but this is sort of in that same vein where there is nothing in it that makes sense, and scene to scene, you find it keeps surprising you with things that make the movie shitty. It's The Room with like a low-level action movie budget.
I mean, I want to spend more time on it because there's just so many things I love thinking about it. I love David Carradine. I love David Carradine talking shit to that one guy, like the
awful actor.
The awful actor who is crazy, and then David Carradine seems to genuinely not remember the name of this character because he's all like, "Listen, Lieutenant Stranix or Danix, whatever the hell your name is." Mm. God, it's so fucking funny. Just like the sound design of so much of this movie is just them walking through hallways, and whatever like sound designer added in like the clip clop of them going down the hallway should be given a medal.
All right, where do you want this on the list? Because
well, go down to the very bottom.
I'm not particularly fond of this movie.
No, go down to the bottom. Let me see what we got here. It's tough because I really love it, but yeah, I can't deny. Yeah, it's dead last. I don't know if it'll stay there, but it's gotta be there now. There's no, like, it's not a better movie than Dracula 3000.
For something that
you know what? You know what? I've changed my mind. It is a better movie than Dracula 3000. Because I would show it, and it's a better movie than Wrong Side of Town. No, it's moving up. It's moving up the list. Because I would show people this.
Okay.
I would show people this movie.
Excellent.
It's not dead last on our list. It is the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, though. That is an important distinction to make.
Favorite performance?
I think it's gotta be Lieutenant Stanix, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Stanish.
Stanish.
I think my favorite performance it's a toss-up again between two nameless throwaway characters in the same scene. There's one guy who's being protected from the assassins. He's this old fella, and he makes these sexual remarks to a nurse, to a maid. He's like, remember when they used to be big, fat, and hairy? And like, he's over the top, and his security detail is just a guy who goes, "You shut the fuck up. What the fuck is wrong with you?"
He's so mad at him. Oh my God. It is
a masterclass of extremes between a guy who overacts every line and a guy who underacts every line.
Man, why did you shut the fuck up, man? Yeah. No, it's great. Oh my God. I can't even do it justice. God, we have so many fucking movies left.
Dude, I'm in it for the long haul tonight. I got nothing to do tonight. Phone battery.
But like, how long will this episode be? Is the real question.
Yeah, we may have to like not do as long of a WrestleMania this year. As far as editing goes.
Why? Because we're gonna be still fucking doing this episode like into May.
Jesus, we should have done like a fucking live recording of this.
Okay, all right. Let's cut down our plot description things. Let's see if we can do plots in 30 seconds.
Okay, so the next movie is our first of the official Halloween episodes where we decided we were going to do 4 horror movies over the course of September and October. This one was called Hard Rock Zombies, and it is about a nameless band who travels to a small California town where the townsfolk don't want rock and roll music, and the band run afoul this creepy mansion of crazy monsters, including Adolf Hitler, who didn't die, and the hard rockers are killed. They're resurrected through the power of rock. They kill off the monster people, and then the town is overrun with zombies.
That's it, and hard rocking commences. This is a super goofy comedy. It's incredibly low budget. It has the spirit of like a Naked Gun, but not quite the wit, but there is some genuine laughs here. And let me see a little bit more of that list. I would put it quite high. I would put it... Oh, where would I put it? Where would you put it?
I would put it beneath Assault on Devil's Island. Maybe higher than Reach Me, I think.
You think?
List. Well, the main strength of this movie, I think, comes from knowing the fact that, twist, Hitler is the surprise villain of it.
Yeah.
Without... Like, you want to keep people in the dark with this, and, like, basically we spoiled, like, one of the best reasons to watch this movie.
Right. Which is kind of the whole purpose of our entire podcast.
Yeah. But there's, like, crazy character actors in this movie that carry the rest of the movie once the band is eliminated. I don't know. Plot-wise, it's not that strong of a movie. But, like, there's enough, like, crazy zany shit going on that you'll get a kick out of it. In lieu of saying, like, what's an actor who gives a great performance, this is I would consider this our first musical, because there's a lot of original songs in this movie.
Can you name one?
Ooh. Oh, Cassie.
All right.
You're so young.
Oh, Cassie is our third, I guess, nomination for Best Original Song. All right. You're going to put it above Reach Me. I don't agree, but that's fine. We got to move on. So I'm fine with not being 100% on this list. We'll be here all day. That's good. My favorite performance was Adolf Hitler as himself. All right, moving on. We have Mosquito Man, or Mansquito, I suppose. Plot. This was about a man who gets turned into a mosquito. He's a serial killer, and science happens, and he's turned into a killer mosquito by the doctor who played Sindel in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and also Detective Parker Lewis Can't Lose is there, and I think they blow up Mansquito at the end, and that's the plot. This
sucked.
This was, there we go, moving on. It's good. So, you know what? We don't have to spend a lot of time on all of these, you know?
No, but like, I hate to say it, but like, you kind of put me on the spot by saying, hey, come up with 2 horror movies to watch. And I'm not that big into horror movies. And this was one that I just happened to watch a couple of years ago. And this is like one of those really shitty sci-fi monster movies. And it's not like that. It is a shitty sci-fi horror movie. No, there's not enough to really recommend something like this.
The one takeaway from our episode is that's the only thing that I remember about Mosquito Man, is that it is the strangest movie to pass the Bechdel test.
Yeah.
Because it opens with 2 female scientists who are talking about science, and they talk about science for more than 2 minutes, and they don't mention a man once. Genuinely surprised that that movie opens that way. The movie is called Mosquito Man, so, you know, perhaps not the most progressive of movies, but, yeah, weird that it does pass the Myers-Briggs test that early. And, God, favorite performance, the Mansquito, I guess.
I like the human guy who ran the lab and who was always giving Dr. Sindel a hard time. He's only really in two
Oh,
scenes,
yeah, and then he's eaten early, isn't he?
Yeah, but he would have been a good character to have throughout the whole movie, but yeah, sadly he's not.
So he was telling Dr. Sindel that he doesn't approve of the Mansquito problem, and then she responded, "Well, too bad, you will die." I'll cut that out of the episode. All right, where are we putting Mansquito?
I would put this beneath The Shepherd.
Yeah, because I would still show people The Shepherd for David Carradine. Yeah, I agree with that.
Moving on, we watched legendary director Dario Argento's Dracula 3D. This movie is our highest viewed episode at 7.7 thousand with a dislike count of 15 dislikes.
It's also the second longest movie we've ever covered on the show.
It is?
Yes, after Aspen Extreme.
Jesus.
And it felt it. It felt that way. And you know what? The plot will be easy with this one. Have you read Dracula? It's basically Dracula, but with some CGI bullshit thrown in. He turns into... Look, here's the only thing you need to know about this movie. He turns into a giant CGI praying mantis. And you can watch that on YouTube. There, I just covered Argento's Dracula for this one. This is low. This is low on the list.
Yeah, this is more so baffling in the fact that it came from a legendary horror movie director, and it's just so shitty.
Who has not made a movie since this one. This essentially killed Dario Argento's career, and it has not been able to recoup from it.
It is shocking how boring and how cheap this movie is, considering, like, the pedigree of the guy who made it.
And not fun. Just, like, not fun. Like, the praying mantis thing is wild. It's amazing how, like, no element is worth it. It's got, like, a booze-sozzled Rutger Hauer as Dr. Van Helsing. Even that's not that fun.
Best performance?
What did I write down? I wrote down Rutger Hauer, I guess. I was just talking shit about him, but no one else really. In lieu of best performance, I will nominate the original song, Kiss Me Dracula.
Ooh, that is a cheesy, corny number. Performance, just the one that stuck out to me. Dracula's Bride, because she had nice tits. Sorry to be thinking with my dick on this one. Where do we want to rank this?
Quite low. I'm going to say I think it's underneath Last Hour. I think it's slightly better than Wrong Side of... No, you know what? Let's put the two Draculas together. This is better than Dracula 3000, but it's still second last.
Okay.
And it's also worth mentioning that this is one of a couple of movies in which Dario Argento gets his actual daughter naked on camera. So that's fun. Reading
her fucking Mr. Skin bio on air, that was actually kind of fun.
Yeah. Daddy Argento. Yeah. Moving on, we have Frankenstein Unbound, directed by the great Roger Corman. This is also his last movie. Still around, could maybe direct another movie if he wanted to. Hasn't yet. Frankenstein Unbound. This is pretty dope plot, actually. It's a scientist from the future who travels back in time and fiction, I guess, with his talking robot car, and he meets Dr. Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster, and also Mary Shelley and Percy Shelley, who are also living amongst one another, and he has sex with Mary Shelley, and him and the doctor and the monster travel forward to the future, and fighting happens. That's what I can remember currently right now.
I'll accept that. This movie was crazy in a lot of very wonderful ways. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I would recommend this movie. I wouldn't say it's like my favorite thing we've ever covered, but it's one of those movies that you have to see for yourself. I've seen a lot of like really crappy Roger Corman movies. This is a little bit leagues above his worst work. And because it's semi-forgotten, it's worth checking out. I liked Raul Julia in the scenes where he's like actually trying in his performance. The Frankenstein creature is just baffling to look at. Yeah, I like this.
Yeah, no, I like this too. I think this is a good movie. I think it's very weird. It's based on a very weird book, and it turned into a very weird movie. But I think this is a lot of fun. And just the fact that he travels back in time and fucks Mary Shelley is worth seeing a lot. And I think Percy Shelley is played by the guy from In Excess in one of his only acting roles. So that's weird too. Where does this go? I think in between Assault on Devil's Island and Hard Rock Zombies.
Yep, I agree with that.
Sure, that works for me. Gotta give my love to my boy Raul Julia for best performance.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. Long Shot.
Have fun with this one.
Oh, thank you, Kaz. Oh, Jesus Christ. So there are two plots to this. There is a high schooler who has no confidence, who starts seeing this gal.
There's not two plots to this. There's like 8 plots to this.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. It's Celebrity Cameo, the movie, while like there's a story of a gigolo trying to seduce a mafia boss, and there's like another storyline where this high schooler works up the courage to ask a pretty girl out. I hardly remember the plot of this movie because this really is just... Would you say this movie has the most celebrities, like the most famous people in it?
I wouldn't even say that this is a movie. This feels more like a tax scheme than
really
like anything else.
It really seems like scenes where... Like there's that one scene where there's a beach party between... What's his name? Like Antonio Sabato Jr. is hosting... But it's in the middle of a field, and there's only like a group of 9 people isolated and no other party goers. And it's just like, they clearly cobbled that together within like, an hour and just like filmed a scene around it.
Yeah, this movie is notable for being produced by, oh god, what was his name? Lou something or other. The guy who was like the Svengali behind all the boy bands and Britney Spears and everything. He stole everyone's money in a big Ponzi scheme and he went to jail. He died in jail because he's a bad person. So this movie has NSYNC and Britney Spears and O-Town and other...
And Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers.
Evan Eubanks, Peter Frampton, Gilbert Gottfried, like...
A very young Dwayne Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah, this is cameo the movie.
The Rock is in this movie.
Yeah, it's bad. It's hard to judge this one because we saw it in parts on YouTube, so it feels like we didn't necessarily see the full version of this movie, but what we saw, pretty shitty. I think this goes under Mosquito Man.
Yeah. It's one of those movies where you have to see it for yourself to grasp how bad it is, but I can in good conscience recommend this movie to anyone. I can't think of anyone I hate enough to recommend this movie to.
Best performance obviously has to be Hunter Tylo, the Huntress caught on camera. We are not going to explain that joke. We are going to move on immediately.
I would say Gilbert Gottfried, just doing his Gilbert Gottfried thing, giving carte blanche to just say whatever the fuck he wants, kind of saves the movie to a degree.
Alright. Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. Not enough, though. Alright, moving on. We have a very weird entry in this. This was sort of like an experiment to see if we could do this, spurned by the fact that I found a DVD from another country, and the translation on the back was hilarious. So this was Master Q 2001, which is based on a beloved Hong Kong comic strip character that none of us have ever heard of, but friends of Chinese descent have messaged me and told me, no, this is a fairly big deal. People know who this is.
It has a view count of 1,400 views on our YouTube channel. So
is that good?
I mean, considering we average like maybe 100 views, yeah, it's pretty good.
There we go. There's an audience for this stuff. Yeah. So this is basically like that live-action Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, but with the Master Q characters. They're living in the real world, but they're CGI monstrosities. And there's like a gangster, and then a politician's daughter, and they hit their heads and they lose their memory. And, she's a teacher, and they don't remember who they are. And then the gangster wants to like use the... No, it's a cop. It's a cop and a teacher, and they lose their memories, and the cartoons are there, and they run around and shenanigans happen. This is a foreign movie. It is a very weird movie. I kind of dug it. I thought it was goofy. I thought I had some fun with it.
The premise of the plot would be odd enough without the cartoon characters just being like bouncing off the walls insane. This was, I think, a fun episode or fun movie to review, especially in my state of mind because I was exhausted. And there was like a whole level of comprehension between reading the subtitles and following this insane movie to pay attention to. Yeah, but like I can't speak to whether or not it's a bad movie just because, you know, there's probably some stuff there that's lost in translation. I don't think I could recommend this movie to anyone really. So it's hard for me to say. Where would you want this movie?
Well, the other thing that I think is important to point out is that there's one character in this movie that for some reason, very near the beginning of the movie, briefly turns into Adolf Hitler for like half of a second, and it's never explained why. It's never explained why. It's very odd. No one ever comments on it, but he like does it and then it disappears again. So in that respect, I think it should go right next to our other Hitler movie, Hard Rock Zombies. I guess underneath it, Hard Rock Zombies is better than Master Q 2001. Yeah, sure.
It also has a musical number in it, if you remember.
Yes, but we don't know the lyrics.
Or the name of the song.
I think we should, I think the caveat to this rule is that we should at least be able to like sing some of the song. Okay. And it is in a language that we don't know and we don't remember the name of it. But best performance obviously goes to Big Potato.
Sure. Alright, so our next film was our very first Christmas movie.
Holiday, I believe we refer to it as a cold weather movie.
Yes, because it clearly takes place on like December 27th, because there is, other than like having some Christmas lights and trees in the background, there is no mention of Christmas. This film is called Pottersville, and it is about Michael Shannon, intimidating character actor Michael Shannon, being the nicest guy in town. He catches his wife in a furry relationship with Ron Perlman, and in a drunken rampage puts on a gorilla costume, is mistaken for Bigfoot, which draws the international attention to his town. Thomas Lennon comes by as like some imposter Bigfoot hunter, and Thomas Lennon, partners up with Ian McShane and Ron Perlman to hunt down Michael Shannon's fake Bigfoot character. And in the end, everyone realizes that, oh, Michael Shannon is actually a good guy, and we should help save his failing business. Merry Christmas, everyone.
This is one of the better known movies that we've covered on the podcast. The interesting thing that I discovered is that the internet does not like this movie. I think for the most part, we kind of enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's a fine, lighthearted, certainly weird Christmas comedy. But yeah, like it kind of knows what it wants to be, as weird as it is. Nothing really sticks out as something that makes this a broken movie. It's perfectly fine to show to the family around Christmas. You may have to explain to your grandma what a furry is, but other than that, no, it's alright.
I think this movie, just the infamy of this movie is just the fact that it is the Michael Shannon Christmas movie. It literally has the plot of like a Hallmark cheese fest. But yes, it stars famously intense Michael Shannon trying to do Jimmy Stewart and failing magnificently. Like it's a failure, but it's a great failure. He really swings for the fences with it, and he's so off-putting.
Mm-hmm. My favorite performance from this movie is a trifecta of Ian McShane, Thomas Lennon, and Ron Perlman just being the Three Stooges together in, like, when they're camping out in the woods hunting Bigfoot. These three guys work off each other so well as a comedic pairing that I prefer it more than any of the nonsense that happens with Michael Shannon. I would watch a whole other movie with just these three guys, you know, calling each other idiots and bonding in the woods.
I'm going to throw a little bit love to the always dependable Judy Greer, who's just very sweet and very lovely and always improves whatever movie that she's in. Where the hell do we put... See, this is a problem because this movie's fine. Yeah. So where the hell do we put a fine movie? I guess...
I'd say beneath Assault on Devil's Island. And above Frankenstein.
Oh, it's not better than Frankenstein.
No?
It's not. God, I don't know what, I think we should put it after Hard Rock Zombies.
Okay.
Unless you disagree.
Nope.
Okay, sure. All right, and then there we go, and then we're at the end of the year now with the second of your post-apocalyptic movies. This was the end of 2019, so we covered a movie that was called 2019 after the Fall of New York.
Fall of New York. This film is about a post-apocalyptic bounty hunter named Parzival who is recruited by the U.S. president to go apprehend this fabled last not virile, what's the word I'm looking for women? She can have a baby. No one else in the future can have a baby. So
ovulating.
The last ovulating woman who's like sort of sealed in this protective bubble somewhere by a scientist in dilapidated New York City. He's paired up with a couple of other hunters to go into the city to rescue her. They run afoul this evil fascist conglomerate that wants to annihilate all human races. They pal around with these ape-human hybrids. They find the woman. The woman is impregnated against everyone's knowledge by one of the ape men. They get her to the spaceship, and she is sent off-world. The end.
Yeah, this movie's great. I really loved it. I loved the production design. I loved all of the design elements. I just thought they were really cool. Good, grimy Italian B-movie, cheesy goodness with like a little dash of like Star Wars thrown in there as well. I'm a big fan of this. I think I'm on record saying as I like this more than Bronx Warriors. I think time has altered that slightly, but it is still quite high.
This movie has atmosphere to spare. And, a lot of it just like has to come from how they were filming around these like really dilapidated shooting locations that just lend so much to the environment. This really does look like the post-apocalypse in a way that the other post-apocalypse movies we watch don't. This, I think, like we said, like this is the strongest of those movies. It's certainly not the funniest, and it's certainly not the worst. So I would rank this higher than Flight of Dragons.
Yeah, I would too. I think this is maybe number 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 2019. And who is your favorite performance?
The robot clown.
That is my avatar on Letterboxd, the robot clown and the carnival barker. If you follow me on Letterboxd, yeah, that is what that movie is from. My favorite performance is, of course, George Eastman as Big Ape.
Yes, as horrible as his character was. All right, moving on was our first episode recorded at a professional recording studio. And
our first episode of the now famously cursed year of 2020.
Yes, we watched Mr. Stitch, which was an absolute bonkers movie.
It was a odd TV sci-fi departure from director and screenwriter Roger Avery, who's best known for collaborating on the Pulp Fiction screenplay, which he won an Oscar for. He's also directed other things like Rules of Attraction, and is also known for Manslaughter.
Oh, really?
We went over this. This was a whole thing in the episode. He killed a woman because he was driving a car. Then he went to jail.
Oh, yeah.
And then he like got out on bail. But then he complained about his bail, so they sent him back to jail for like 2 years. Yeah.
Right. I forgot about that.
This is kind of like a Frankenstein story. Will Wheaton, made up of 88 different people, and he's all sewed together from evil Dr. Rutger Hauer, and he has them in a completely white room with floating eyeballs everywhere. He meets a lady, and he learns love. And he discovers that he's made up of 88 different people, including bits of Ron Perlman. This is a real all-star movie. It's full of people that we've seen before.
Mm-hmm. Fuck, there is so much to this movie to love. Be it from, like, how much Rutger Hauer clearly doesn't give a shit. Like, he improvised most of his lines. There's a lot of avant-garde weirdness in the first leg of the movie. There's a hilarious car chase involving a CGI smoke plume in that very much resembles a skull cloud, and an absolutely scenery chewing scene from the villainous fucking General Hardcastle, or whatever the fuck his name was.
Oh, yeah. We're jumping ahead to my favorite performance, but there we go.
Spoiler alert, it's mine too.
This was an actor named Michael Harris, who has starred in absolutely nothing of note, but he comes out of fucking nowhere in the last 10 minutes to reveal that he was actually the villain the entire time. And boy, what a performance this guy gives. Holy shit.
Yeah, you're talking to a United States general, son. Yeah, I fucking loved this movie.
Yeah. So where does it go then?
Ooh,
This is a real, you have to see this movie to believe it. Like, it's really hard to describe just how strange this movie is.
Yeah, and sadly, like, my bias is showing because I can't rate it higher than Laser Mission or Bronx Warriors, but it's up there. I would say that this would be number 3 on the list.
Wow, that high, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I love a lot of this movie, man.
Wow, that's surprising. I don't know. Gosh, can we split the difference and call it, number 4?
Okay, absolutely.
Cause I don't know if I don't think I would put it that high.
Okay.
And I certainly wouldn't put it above Hamburger the movie, but I'm kind of so taken with your love for it that sure, let's send it up the list there.
Fantastic. All right. The next film that we watched was the actual, essentially a commercial made into a movie called The Movie Out Here.
Yes, it's the only movie produced by a beer company. It's the only movie that went straight to liquor stores.
Yes, which I was just given for free while I was buying a 6-pack of something back in like 2011 or 2012 or whatever.
I'm gonna step in here and do some editorializing. There are certain movies we don't need to spend a ton of time on the plot. This is one of them. Fair enough. I think we can sum up in 10 seconds.
Oh, Toronto Yuppie has to go and save his buddy's ski waxing business in Fernie. Fucking alcohol-fueled hijinks ensue involving a cameo from Snow, remember him? And Marty McSorley, remember him?
And Sasquatch, remember him?
And Sasquatch, yeah. This movie was, God, I'm ashamed to say I laughed at quite a bit. That's not to say it's a great movie whatsoever, but I think there's enough stupid, dumb belly laughs in it that it kind of wormed its way into my heart a little bit, and I would not expect that Snow would have been a fucking highlight of that movie. Playing himself.
I don't remember much about this movie, and the stuff that I do remember I don't like. This is quite low. This is quite low for me. I don't think this is not a good movie at all, and I don't think anyone needs to watch it. The only good thing I can say about it is that clearly a lot of Vancouver-based actors got some work out of this. They got some money in their accounts.
We did get to spend an evening with our good buddy Harrison. And
that is true, but the quality of the episode does not carry over to the quality of the movie. But I agree, this is another one of my favorite episodes. I don't think, we're never as funny as when Harrison is with us.
We make a good Three Musketeer ensemble. So, like, I'd love to have him back and watch a better movie.
Yes. Well, he is about to become a successful author, and now he also has 2 children and a wife, so we will never have him back. We will never see him again.
This movie, one more thing I just want to add to it is, this movie was completely spearheaded by a marketing company to sell a brand of beer, and they have their most identifiable mascot rape someone. What the hell were they thinking?
It's also the only movie we've covered in an episode so far where none of us ever mention the name of the director because it does not matter. Right. It does not matter who directed this. It was directed by Kokanee.
Where do you want this?
I guess under Last Hour.
Ooh, okay.
Because it's not good.
That bad, eh? Alright, I would have ranked it higher than The Shepherd, but whatever. Best performance I'd say would have to go to Snow. He was, I think, he was written to be pretty funny, and he kept getting injured. He got a fucking flare gun shot at him.
I also liked local legend Gary Chalk, who was quite good in this.
Yes, he was. Okay, moving on. We have the first of our quarantine episodes. Where we decided we couldn't, in good conscience, share a room together. And we went down the amazing rabbit hole of discovering movies on the streaming site Tubi TV. And we kicked this magnificent journey that we're still on with the little-known Kenny Rogers made-for-TV movie, Coward of the County. And it's essentially the plot of the song where a kid who is a bit of a pacifist is encouraged to stand up for his woman after she is raped. And weaved through this plot is Kenny Rogers, who's sort of a scoundrel, but also a priest, and his crisis of faith because he likes the whores and he likes gambling, and then he returns to the cloth. That's it.
Yep, you did it. You summed it up perfectly. Yeah, no, we decided to do this because I think maybe on a too soon move from us. We recorded that like 4 days after Kenny Rogers died, I think. But this turned out to be kind of a weird plot because I don't know. It's about a rape. It's about a rape. You can't really get over the fact that
about a rape that doesn't happen in the movie until like the last 10 minutes or so. And then everything else before that is just the most corny, folksy shit you've ever seen in your life. Stuff that is like, we are clearly not the demographic for.
It's soft. It's shot in like this like soft focus lighting and everything, and it's shot like a pleasant little TV movie, but it takes such a dark turn near the end. Yeah, it's hard to get a handle on what the tone of this one is. Also, as I'm going over it, I'm realizing right now in this moment, I don't really remember much of anything about this movie. This movie's kind of exited my brain. I'll be frank about it. I remember Squirrel Murphy is in it.
Yeah.
That's about
Again,
the only playing yet another rapist.
Yeah. No, this was a movie that I think we found there are two plots that on their own could have been decent between Kenny Rogers and his nephew, but combined together, it just really didn't know what to be, and it couldn't commit to either one, so therefore it's not that strong of a movie. It does have a character named Car Wash in it, who has the performance of the film.
Car Wash. I always want to say Car Wash Johnson, but I don't think that is. I think I just keep adding the Johnson on the end of it. Yes, played by Noble Willingham. Yeah, he gets my performance of the thing. And I guess we can't nominate the Son Coward of the County, because that existed before the movie.
I want to rank this lower than Long Shot myself.
Really? I don't think it's bad. I think it's just kind of,
I got some laughs out of Long Shot and just how baffling it was. But that's me.
You think it's a little lower on the list than I would have expected. I just don't think it's that offensive. Even though it has kind of like a real swerve near the end. Mm-hmm. I kind of liked the bar fight at the end.
That is pretty fun, yeah. Okay, where do you want it?
Again, I don't want this to just be like where I would put this on the list, so
I'm not gonna, as long as I get I speak my piece, I'm not gonna offer much pushback on these.
I think I would put this underneath Aspen Extreme, which is, because it's the second most boring movie I think we've covered so far, so... Okay. I think it goes there. All right, Jameson, that is 25 movies. And I didn't foresee this happening. I think we might have to put a pin in it, buddy, because we are now officially over 2 hours. And I've worked a full day at work. And my voice is just gone, as you can hear. Because not a professional radio person, so this happens to me, my voice just wears out. And also, like, it's a 2-hour episode. I think it would be a fool's errand to go any further than that. So this is obviously going to be either a two-parter, or when we meet to record the second half of this, we could always splice it into the episode so it begins, like, now. We can choose that later. But...
Sure. We need a break. Okay.
I mean, even if my voice wasn't going, it's 2 hours. 2 hours for 25 movies.
Yeah, we don't even do our episodes for this long. Okay.
Yeah. No, we do.
I can respect that.
All right, so it's a cliffhanger episode, everyone. Tune in next time, I guess, which maybe...
We may pick this up again. We may do our fucking WrestleMania. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it. Best laid plans, all that. This turned out to be a much bigger undertaking than I assumed it would. We probably should have figured, because neither of us can stay on track for very long.
No,
so,
but hey, I mean, we got 25 of our 50 movies in the can. We're halfway done. This is a good place to end it. This is a good call.
All right, good. Well, let's just wrap it up here. Tune in next time for the other part of this or something else. Jameson, take us out, because I literally have no voice left.
All right. He's a mercenary man. Mercenary man. Mercenary man.
Bum, bum, ba-da, ba-da-da-da. Bum, bum, ba-da, do-do-do-do. Beep, 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 do-do-do.
The
No,
next
I'm
couple
not
of
even
episodes
putting
are
the
gonna
music
include,
in. I'm just
most
doing
of
that.
our musicals. So
I'm just doing that. All right, good.
all right, night everybody.